Night after night in cities across America, cops go to work never really knowing what they'll encounter. This story is not a recreation. It's the reality of the night beat on May 27, 1990, with the Tampa Police Department.
Lately, last several weeks, we've had, seems like an increase in armed robberies around the area of Bush Boulevard and on East Hillsborough. As you're patrolling out there, just pay attention to your parking lots and see if we can't stop some of this. Well, I don't have anything else. That seems to be it.
There's potential for violence and danger every day, every minute, every second you're out there.
Sergeant Jill Marks has been working the night shift for 5 years.
You put yourself in jeopardy every time you step into a patrol car. That's just the nature of the job.
A few minutes after 10, a call for backup comes in from the Florida Highway Patrol.
10-4, unit standby. I need a unit, signal 54, 1018, I-275 in Ashley, draft HP. Possibly involving a signal 10 and they can't raise him.
When you hear an officer yell for help anywhere in the city, regardless if it's a county officer or, in this case, a Florida Highway Patrol, I'm going to be there to help that fellow officer.
The Highway Patrol has lost contact with a trooper investigating a minor accident involving suspected stolen cars.
I'm testifying with the trooper's car. It's on the interstate at the interchange. I'm going to bail out here and see if I can assist them in stealing the car.
Okay, you just found the car, that's all?
I see him running. I think I see a light down here, but I'm not sure.
They got a trooper that's chasing somebody for Grand Theft Auto. He's way over there. They're way over, down off the interstate.
Charlie 21.
1 Charlie 21.
I'm in Talifero with shipments, and I lost sight of him.
One Charlie 21, what's your 1020?
Charlie 21.
Go ahead.
This is Trooper 10-4. Nebraska.
The trooper is located in pursuit on foot of several suspects.
When I came in contact with him, he said, that's him over there in the red tank top.
Myself and the other town police officer ran toward that restaurant, which time they jumped into a second vehicle and fled the scene.
We had units arriving at scene, so I was just pointing to the units and telling them over radio, you know, that they needed to stop that car.
K-9 officer Michael Mazza joins in the search for the suspects.
I got behind my patrol vehicle and the car fled from us. I just went a short distance when the occupants jumped out of the car. I saw the driver of the car cutting through one of the public housing areas. The dog located him behind like a doorway.
I got shots fired over here in the area.
Boy, did you copy shots have been fired in the area?
Anytime you've got gunfire, it increases the intensity. You don't know if they're directed at the officers or if it's just somebody out there thinking that he's going to scare us off or she's going to scare us off by firing shots in the air.
Where are they at?
Corporal Paul Miller takes over the investigation.
When I arrived, they had already apprehended one of the juveniles who was the driver of the car. It's pretty chaotic. Me being the first supervisor on the scene, I advised all officers to restage.
Take him out of here. Take him out of here. Take him to 7th Avenue in Nebraska by the 7-Eleven.
Police returned to the spot where Highway Patrol Trooper Edgardo Torres originally attempted to question the drivers of the suspected stolen cars.
I went to stop the vehicle that caused the accident. As I did so, the subject jumped out of the car with the car still rolling and proceeded to run off the interstate.
The second vehicle that's involved in the accident was also stolen, so they decided they'd take off also.
And they ran down here, the suspects ran here, got into another signal 10, which is right there, jumped in that car and fled.
That's pretty cute. Have stolen cars readily available to hop in when you flee from the police. Anybody know his name? What's your name, man?
Hello. Young kid. 16, 15. Usually these juveniles don't serve any time. I mean, auto theft's a game to them. See how fast you can get into a car and see how long you can keep it before you get chased by the police. And if you want to take the stereo, take the stereo.
Yeah, I know him.
The officers on scene had just dealt with him 3 or 4 nights earlier.
Hey, Lewis, right? You remember me?
Yeah, at the motel.
Yeah. So what's the deal, man?
I just jumped in the car.
I thought you said you didn't commit crimes.
Your son was in the car.
The mother of the teenage suspect arrives.
It's extremely difficult when the relatives arrive on the scene because emotions are so high. Also, I wanted to console her because I was sympathetic to the fact that, you know, that is her son. I can imagine what I would feel like if that was my son in the back of a police car.
Have you been arrested before?
Yeah.
Her son had been arrested several times in the past for the exact same thing.
You know that, right? Your mother cares about you. You can see that. They'll probably release him into your custody tomorrow. Not tomorrow, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, he's going to have to pay some consequences or he can't keep on stealing cars.
She knew that she was going to lose him for 30 days or more, that she knew that he was going to detention. He wasn't coming home at this time. He wasn't willing to admit who else was in the cars with him, but she knew.
That's them. They from West Tampa. Check them 2 out right there.
He was with one other kid. He wouldn't give us the name.
That's them. They from West Tampa. I don't know how they got over him. That's them right over there.
Think that's him?
She pointed out to Sergeant Marks several of the friends who he hangs around with were in the crowd. And she said if anybody knows anything about this, that they might.
All right, we're going to go talk to 2 gentlemen, you and I.
Move. And we conducted what they call a field interrogation report. We gathered up all their information, names, date of birth, addresses, and everything else.
What's your birthday? June what?
1473.
Both of y'all dropped down?
You get a sense for people and the way that they react to you. You learn a lot by the way that people look and act, and I just had a gut instinct that these kids were involved.
Let's go, guys. Thanks. Appreciate your cooperation.
But they weren't really even suspects at that point, other than Mama knew that they didn't belong there. We had nothing else to put them in the car. So we had no choice to let them go at the scene, but we gained the information that we needed.
As the investigation continues, reports of more stolen cars come in.
Just, as a matter of fact, the sergeant on the way over here just told us that he recovered 2 more cars in the project.
So I ran into some.
So within the last hour, we recovered 5 cars, stolen cars.
So I ran into a ring.
That's exactly what you did. You ran into a ring.
It's a grand theft auto ring. And there was probably 8 to 10 juveniles who were stealing anywhere from 10 to 20 cars a night. They don't understand that they're actually not only endangering themselves, but they're endangering people that could be innocent victims. Because when they try to get away from us in these cars, and sometimes the speed can get in excess of 100 miles an hour.
While one suspect awaits booking, police compare fingerprints lifted from the stolen cars to those of the kids they questioned. One set of prints matches. They now have a second suspect.
What I was going to suggest is we're going to have Jay, and is it okay with you, if you can go to the back door, and you and I will go to the front door, and Kevin can be like a rover, okay? And what happens, we'll go to the front door and knock at the front door and see if he is there. And if he comes out the back door, I'm sure you guys know what to do then.
It's a very tense situation because it's always an unknown. That's why when we approach, it's no lights, parked down the road.
Oh, this ought to be great. Yeah, they're in the back.
Somebody in the back.
I don't think this door's been open in a while.
Copy of 73, 1018, 73,
1018 Riverside. Hello, 315, one break.
Okay.
Want to go ahead to the hotel room now?
Yeah, one more shot here.
They had talked about that a bunch of the kids had been staying in a motel, so we went to see if maybe these kids were there.
They also are looking for the car the kids were driving when they were previously questioned.
You don't recall of anybody coming in like that? Okay, that's great. I appreciate your cooperation very much, okay? You have a good night, sir. All right, bye-bye. The only thing that I would suggest is they're probably in the project somewhere. They're probably around Central Park, around 7th Avenue, Nebraska. And we're just riding around.
Then we were going to try and see if they were down in one of the drug holes that the kids have been known to hang down in. And on our way there, we got lucky and ran upon the vehicle with one of the kids that was originally in the car.
Well, this guy on the street, okay? I want to talk to you for a minute. Give me your name. Yeah.
What is this about?
Okay, what this is about is stolen cars. There you go.
Can I tell you something? I don't know nothing about it, so we came out to the church to get something to eat.
Okay, I want you to know that you are one of my suspects also in this, okay?
After questioning that youth, the police continue the search.
At those hours of the night when you're knocking on a door looking for somebody, the people inside know it's the police. And you never know if they're going to shoot through the door. It'll get your adrenaline going, definitely.
Police officers, open the door, please. Open the door. Thank you.
You have to understand that you do have your boundaries. If you don't have a search warrant, you have to ask that person, can we search your house?
I'm here to see Herman.
Herman? Herman don't stay here.
You mind if I look? You don't mind?
Oh, you can look.
You don't mind?
Half the times that we get the consent, the people are there. So that doesn't relax your guard at all.
Herman doesn't stay here? When's the last time you seen Herman?
Early today.
Okay. We're out here. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Well, I can't come up with anything else. We'll just put a warrant out for arrest.
Just leave it. Put the warrants out. He'll turn up. Probably in another stolen vehicle.
Probably.
Had an emergency hostage situation, and he called.
A half hour after I got off this morning, an officer telephoned me and advised me that he had apprehended the second suspect that we had looked for all night. I think that was a good night's work for us.
The legwork of the night shift cops subsequently leads to the conviction of the two kids for grand theft auto.
At this point, we've identified probably 3/4 of that ring. Maybe we'll stop them for a while.
It can be hard for the veterans of the night shift to keep perspective.
Not all the people I deal with are the total sum of the people who live in that area. At the break of dawn, it's like a change of life. It's almost like you're dealing with two sets of people. At 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, when I see the 40 or 50 kids waiting for the high school bus, I've never seen those kids before, probably, in my career. But sometimes you have to bear that in mind.
Next.
When I first got there, he was just covered with blood, and I got nervous. But I knew that this man's life was in my hands.